Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast. No co-host this week, just another very quick one with me because I've been kind of swamped the past week. I'm sure most of you guys know I have canceled the Indiegogo campaign. With everything that's going on, I just can't. There's no way I could commit the time to doing that and be able to give everybody what I promised. So I'll leave a link to the description or the link to the video below that describes everything. But yeah, everybody got refunded though. It's very important to me that everybody knows that because I could have just let the Indiegogo run out, take everybody's money, and go on a beer run, but that's not who I am. I mean, even if you hate my guts and disagree with everything I say, you at least gotta know that about me. So I do plan on releasing the site at some point, some way. I don't know how. I don't know how long it's going to take now, but it'll be out eventually. I already paid for most of it, so it's it's definitely something that's a working item that just needs cleaning up. So maybe in a few weeks I'll talk to other web developers and see if we could do something with it. I'm obviously not taking any donations, otherwise I would have just left the Indiegogo up. But if anybody wants to help, please click on my store link down below. I have a ton of stuff on eBay and a few things that I listed as local pickup only, but I would be willing to ship. It's just really heavy and it's going to cost a lot of money. I don't know if it would be worth it to some people to spend, $100 on something and spend $50 shipping. But, just contact me if you want anything. The stuff's gone really quick already. Thank you so much to everybody who supported. And I know there was a few of you guys that bought a few things that maybe you didn't need, but you kind of just, you wanted, so you bought from me to help me out. And you guys all know who you are, Matt, Mike, Art, thank you guys. There's a lot more, but I don't want to spend the whole podcast thanking everybody, but I really do appreciate it so much. And if anybody else has anything they want, just buy it right from the eBay link, or if it's on my page, the actual page, just email me directly. Most of it's going pretty quick, luckily. But there's a bunch of music equipment on there too, which would be a huge help if you guys knew anybody that liked that stuff, because that's the stuff like I just sold a guitar a couple months ago that was on eBay for a year, and it was one of those weird specialty ones that I like. And when the kid got it, he emailed me a month later a thank you note to thank me for taking such good care of it and told me that it was the best guitar he played and he loved it. So it's, all of these things have somebody out there. It's just going to take forever for me to find them. So if you guys know anybody into that stuff, please just forward my eBay auction links over to them and see if I can get these musical equipment in the hands of people that would love it as much as I did. But enough of my rambling and bullshit. Let's just jump right into the news and go over all the cool stuff we got for this week. First up, Supergun Drama. Are Superguns killing our SCART equipment? Mostly no. Last week I talked about the Windy City Superguns were known to have been blowing up some G-SCART switches, and we wanted to figure out what was going on with it. And what it really came down to was just poor labeling and documentation, and that's it. So there was a lot of drama on the forums and on Twitter and everything, but there really is no debate to be had at all. The bottom line is the G-SCART switches are designed under a SCART specification, which is something that's documented. It's a worldwide spec, and they're designed for those tolerances. The Supergun that Windy makes has a switch on the bottom that toggles voltage of a couple of the pins in the output, and toggled in one direction definitely falls within that spec, and when toggled in the other direction, it does not. Which means that when, and as far as I know, they don't really have a good sticker on there really describing that. But that means that if that switch is toggled in the wrong direction, and you plug it into any SCART equipment, such as the G-SCART switch, the open source scan converter, the FrameMeister, any of those SCART to component converters, basically anything, any powered SCART device, you absolutely can blow it out because it doesn't fall within the specs. So there really, there was a lot of finger pointing from one side pointing towards the other, but there's no debate to be had. These are specs. They're published, and when toggled to the wrong way, the Windy Supergun didn't fall under those specs. So I hope that they've learned their lesson, and I hope that they mail their customers a free sticker to put on the bottom. What's that going to cost? $1 each? Just, big ass sticker that says this way for SCART, this way for, something else. Update the documentation on their website. Problem solved. And now for more drama. Is Tim Worthington selling us completely fake NESRGB boards? No, I totally made that up. No one even accused him of that. Sorry, I'm feeling silly. What really did happen, though, is some owners of the most recent batch of the NESRGBs were complaining of visual disturbances and things that people who have owned one of the NESRGB kits for a while hadn't seen and couldn't reproduce. So Tim, the creator, actually investigated the issue and found out that counterfeit components were used on the boards in his board shop. And this is actually something that happens very, very commonly. So Tim didn't buy counterfeit components. It was whoever was supplying the parts to the manufacturer that made these for him supplied counterfeit parts. So this is so common in the electronics industry, and even a lot of places that are really stringent sometimes leave this or let this stuff slip through the cracks. So it's not Tim's fault. I wouldn't even say it's his manufacturer's fault at all, and it may or may not even be the distributor's fault. I mean, it could be one of those things where, you know, you buy 10,000 of something, you test randomly out of the first 1,000 and everything's fine, and you just move it along. So, you know, it happens, and Tim posted on his website exactly how to find out which ones are good or not. Basically, it's ones that are sold between December of 2016 and October of 2017, so for about a full year. But the good news is it's a super easy fix, a really cheap fix too. So anybody that thinks they might have this issue, because I don't think all of them would be affected, definitely check out the link to his website where you could compare the voltage regulators and see if you got one of the counterfeit ones or not. Next, Smokemonster recently posted up his latest ROM update video. I gotta remind him to number those, because I think this is number 2, technically. But I absolutely love these. It's nice being on the other side of this for once. I get to just sit back and watch his video and get updates on all the ROM stuff. But he is by far more knowledgeable with all that than I am, so I asked that if he wouldn't mind doing these videos as needed. So no set schedule, no pressure, but and the ROM stuff is sporadic as well. Sometimes I'll have, 5 things a week, and other times I'll have 2 weeks without anything ROM related. But I would really recommend subscribing to his channel and clicking that little bell thingy, so that way, whenever he does update these or upload these videos, people are all in the loop. Because I don't know, I love that he's putting all the time and effort into this. I absolutely love that there's other people out there that care about as much of this crap as I do. So definitely subscribe to his channel if you're into the ROM stuff at all. And anytime he puts up a video, I'll also be reminding everybody here. And speaking of Smokemonster, he also sent me links to how to build your own Star Fox 2 cart. And it's basically things like the Real Phoenix's PCB adapter, and actually different ways of overclocking, if you'd like to do that, to both 50 megahertz or 27 megahertz. So I think all that's awesome, and I just have the links down below for anybody that wants to mess with that. Next, Limited Run Games just posted on Twitter that they've now been able to publish retail games on the Nintendo Switch, as well as the PS4. So hopefully when their first release hits in 2018, we'll all be able to line up to not get a copy of whatever they're selling. Next, Kris posted on his blog a different Upscaler comparison, and I really enjoyed going through and seeing how his results pretty much matched mine as well as a few other people's exactly, which is a good thing. That's not like copying people's work. That means we're verifying each other's results, like real nerds do. So I really appreciate that he posted that for everybody, and as well as posted his test methods to show that things like that awful SCART to HDMI scaler I always complain about really does have 6 frames of lag. So it's a cool blog post, and thanks for sharing it. Next, Nintendo released another software update for the Switch that allows for video capture for select games, new profile icons for certain games, but the good stuff: transfer user profiles and save data to another system. So that was a huge thing that was missing from day one, and especially on a portable system, how easy is it to drop or step on or have something go wrong? So I'm glad that they finally were able to add that, I guess I was about to say feature, but function. That's a basic function that should have been built in from day one. But it's there, and also apparently it supports certain wireless USB headphones as well. Even though that feature was not on the list, I guess Engadget and a few other people figured it out. So yeah, if you have a Switch, no reason not to update, I guess. Nintendo just opened pre-orders for their latest 3DS XL that kind of looks like a Super Nintendo. So it's the normal price of $200, and it'll be released on November 27th. And it's pretty neat. They did this for the European SNES, and now I guess the Americans one has our version of it as well. And while I think it looks really cool, after playing both, I actually prefer the smaller edition. And Wes from Second Opinion Games actually went on a Viking-style raid to find me one with IPS screens. So I have mine, and I was able to get a badass custom Samus look on mine. So there you go, people with the new Super Nintendo version. Eat your heart out. I got Samus on the back of mine. It looks like the Sophia board will soon be available with a DVI output version. So that's the board from Simius on the Atari Age forums that used to do RGB output from Atari 5200s and the Atari 800 computers. I think it's the 800. But now he's about to launch a DVI version. So if you're interested, definitely check out the link down below. Marcus just posted some interesting news about the next version of the open source scan converter's firmware. He said 2 features were going to be added. One is a feature that will allow it to act as like a do-it-yourself latency tester. So I think you'll be able to use the test patterns generated to tell latency between that and the panel. I don't really know how that's going to work, but I can't wait to test it out because I definitely love me some lag testing. But also, it looks like there's going to be a reverse low-pass filter feature designed for the 2-chip SNESes. Because without getting into it in too much detail here, basically the original SNESes had some post-processing on the chips that kind of shifted the image over and caused the blurring effect that we see. Now there's other versions of the 2-chip, some have just awful video outputs no matter what you do. And I don't think this would make it look as sharp as just a regular 1-chip or mini. But I love stuff like this, and I absolutely can't wait to try it out. So I will update everybody when that firmware is released, and hopefully I'll be able to do a little video demonstrating how it works. Analogue just announced that the SNES NT is going to be coming with a new version of Super Turrican. So according to all the tweets, it said that in 1993, the company that developed Super Turrican had to cut the game down by 33% to fit on a 4 megabyte cartridge. So nobody's ever actually seen the full content of it, and now they got the licensing to be able to include this game with every Super NT. So anybody that buys it will be able to play the new uncut game featuring a new level, new music, more enemies, better sound effects, and even a new way to use the beam weapon. So that doesn't sound like a gimmick. That actually sounds like a really awesome game pack-in. So good for those guys. The good news keeps flowing. Now onto the Q&As. Michael Baker asked, do I have any experience with HDMI to component converter boxes? I have limited experience, but I've had pretty good luck. I've just bought cheap ones off of Amazon that don't do anything other than a digital to analog conversion. So it didn't add any lag whatsoever, which is great. Basically, if you find something that would alter the resolution or anything like that, it's probably going to add a lot of lag. But the ones I found were a pretty good conversion. The only thing you might run into is certain things that are HDCP required. You might need to get one of those splitters that removes HDCP. But overall, I had pretty good luck. I don't want to post a link, though, because the problem with those mass-produced boxes is people share the molds for those, the actual boxes themselves. So you could go on and buy one from Amazon, or an Amazon seller could buy 1,000 from China. And then when they go to re-up and buy another 1,000, they could be totally different guts inside that exact same shell. So my only suggestion would be to try to buy the cheapest one you could find, try it out and do a quick lag test and see if there's any really noticeable differences. And if not, you probably got a good one. Next, Alienware Alpha Male asked, he had a question. He'd recently acquired the new open source scan converter to primarily play 16-bit consoles. And after the announcement of the Super NT, he was wondering if there's any point in holding on to the OSSC. That is a great question. And that's something that's really up for debate. I mean, obviously, it really depends on your own personal scenario. It's my opinion that if you bought the OSSC specifically for the Super Nintendo and nothing else, I mean, no, just sell it, because it's kind of redundant at that point. But if there's any chance of playing any other consoles, including just doing things like analog to digital conversion, so like a lot of the newer TVs don't have component inputs or something, so you might be able to do component to digital HDMI out, or if you want to experiment with 480p times 2 mode, or any of the other millions of features that the OSSC could do, it's really worth keeping. But if really, literally, you're only just going to be using it for the Super Nintendo, then no, I mean, I'm assuming the Super NT, the Super NT is probably going to be everything that you would need. You do mention the PS2 and GameCube, and both of those might benefit from the 480p times 2 or the analog to digital conversion. So it's really up to you in the, your use case scenario, but I would keep it. Well, that's it for this week. Sorry for another short one. Hopefully I'll be able to get back to somewhat normal next week, and have a fun guest host and kind of extend this a little bit more. As before, please, if you could, just check the store to see if there's anything there you might need. There's no spectacular deals because I gotta get my money back for this stuff, but there's no bad deals either. I'm not ripping anybody off. Certainly with some of the console stuff, it's way cheaper than a lot of the people I see sell for on eBay. But thank you everybody very much for your support. I also get a lot of really nice emails and tweets and everything last week, so thank you so much to everybody. Thank you for all the Patreon supporters, because you guys are the ones keeping this going. I really appreciate that. And while last week I did have an interview that kind of got delayed a little bit, so I posted our panel at Retro World Expo instead. It was kind of designed for people there live in person, so some people didn't like the video at all, and didn't really translate well. Other people thought it was totally fine. So if you haven't seen it and you got nothing better to do, maybe throw it on. But I had a great time with Wes from Second Opinion Games, and the Retro World Expo crew is always awesome. So thanks again to them, and I will see you guys next week.